mastered the ability of standing so incredibly still that I've become invisible to the eye.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 biggest changes that the MCU made from the comics.
Hello, Dr. Pym? That would be the number that you called, yes?
Why would they do that?
Probably because Rocket stole some of their batteries.
Dude!
Right. He didn't steal some of those. I don't know why they're after us. What a mystery.
This drink, I like it.
I know, it's great, right?
Another!
For this list, we'll be looking at either loved or hated changes the MCU made in comparison to the comics. Note, spoilers will follow. Which change got to you the most? Let us know in the comments. Number 10. Costume changes. Various. This one is fairly obvious, as many of the original comic costumes would just look silly. We're looking at you, Hawkeye, or in some cases, way too revealing for the big screen.
Really?
If we take a look at the original costumes versus the MCU versions, some stick out. For example, how seriously could we have taken Bucky Barnes in The First Avenger if he'd been wearing a weird red and blue jumpsuit with Robin Hood boots? Can anyone imagine Groot wearing clothing and a scantily clad Yondu? How about a Falcon dressed like a 70s magician's assistant? The MCU made some nods to the original costumes, such as in WandaVision, and it gave us a chance to see why those changes were made.
But it really is nice, right?
Number 9. Drax the Destroyer's origins. Guardians of the Galaxy. Some changes were perhaps made to save some time, as is the case with Drax the Destroyer.
You know who I am, yes?
You're Drax, the Destroyer.
In the original comics, Drax was born as Arthur Douglas, a human real estate agent and talented saxophone player. Douglas, his wife, and daughter were killed by Thanos when the Titan feared they had witnessed his arrival on Earth. Douglas's consciousness was extracted from his body and transferred to a humanoid form, which became Drax the Destroyer. That's the short version. In the MCU, Drax is an alien intergalactic criminal whose wife and daughter were killed by Ronan the Accuser.
Ronan murdered my wife, Ovet, and my daughter, Camaria. He slaughtered them where they stood, and he laughed!
He ended up in prison due to his vindictive galactic crime bender. Thus, MCU Drax is much less complex in backstory and thankfully does not play the saxophone.
His people are completely literal. Metaphors are gonna go over his head.
Nothing goes over my head. My reflexes are too fast. I would catch it.
Number 8. Thor's alter ego, Thor. In the original 1960s incarnation, Thor had an alter ego that made quite a bit of sense. Thor was banished to Midgard, or Earth, much like his MCU counterpart.
I now take from you your power. In the name of my father and his father before, I own it, all father. Cut you out!
However, in an effort to teach Thor humility, he was wiped of his memory and placed his consciousness within Donald Blake, a Harvard medical student with an injured leg. He thus learned to live with his disability, as well as care for the sick. Blake took a trip to Norway in which he found a walking stick that, when struck, would become Mjolnir and would restore his form as Thor.
I take my step and strike through mortal bounds, calling forth
Thor, god of thunder, mighty Ulhammer, open a portal through the very fabric of space!
In the MCU, Thor has no alter ego or secret identity, other than just wearing plain clothes on occasion.
Hi, would you mind taking a picture with us?
Oh, sure. Start figuring out where he is.
Number 7. Tony Stark's alcoholism, Various. In the comics, a running theme in Iron Man's story arc has been Tony Stark's alcoholism. In the MCU, Stark is often shown having a drink or two, yet it is never a life-altering problem, nor does he require help for it.
No drink, you sure? I'm having one.
In the comics, the drawbacks of being a billionaire playboy are focused on, particularly his drinking problem. When faced with a potential takeover of Stark Industries, Tony takes to the bottle.
You have become a problem I have to deal with.
This eventually leads to him losing the company, having his assets frozen, and the loss of a large portion of his real estate holdings. In 1979, the comic story Demon in a Bottle detailed his alcoholism more closely. It is alluded to in the MCU, but not as a full-blown problem. Number 6. Ant-Man Sr. Ant-Man. Though Scott Lang has technically been Ant-Man in the comics since 1979, the film was mostly accurate about how he acquired the suit, fans were disappointed when Henry Pym was not the younger, active Ant-Man.
She doesn't think that we need you.
We don't. We can do this ourselves.
I got all this effort to let you steal my suit, and then Hope has you arrested.
In fact, Pym's importance was greatly downplayed in the MCU. Comic book Pym created Ultron, became the Yellow Jacket, and was a founding member of the Avengers, to name a few changes.
Welcome to the team.
Though we all appreciated Paul Rudd's turn as the second-generation tiny hero, fans would have preferred to see the original Ant-Man, Henry Pym, don the costume.
Hank Pym always said you never can trust a Stark.
Who are you?
Come on, man.
Number 5. Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver's Origins, Avengers Age of Ultron. This one plays into the whole mutants in the MCU issue that we won't get into here. In the comics, Wanda and Pietro Maximoff were the offspring of X-Men's Magneto.
Father, and you mean nothing to him.
Do I detect a hint of jealousy?
Wanda. Once the Sentinels have cleared the way, be ready to transport our armies.
They were mutants, hence the superpowers. However, the MCU has been separate from the X-Men universe due to studio ownership issues. Therefore, the MCU made the decision to have the twins taken in by Hydra and experimented on, resulting in them having powers.
The twins.
Sooner or later, they will meet the twins.
Quicksilver made an appearance in both franchises, albeit played by different actors, not counting a somewhat confusing yet amusing actor crossover in WandaVision. We hope one day to see all our comic book friends reunited in a big what-if scenario.
I know I look different.
Why do you look different?
You tell me. I mean, if I had found Shangri-La, I wouldn't want to be reminded of the past either.
Number 4. Killmonger's Origin and Motivation, Black Panther. The comic book version of Eric Killmonger is vastly different from that of the MCU.
How do you think your ancestors got these? You think they paid a fair price? Or did they take it like they took everything else?
In the comics, Killmonger is a former slave to Ulysses Klaue and has a very difficult upbringing. He has no relation to the Wakandan royal family. He is from Wakanda. However, he was orphaned and abandoned. He is also from a largely academic background, rather than the MCU's military and mercenary past.
Joined the SEALs and went straight to Afghanistan, where he wrapped up confirmed kills like it was a video game. Started calling him Killmonger.
His motivations are basically revenge stemming from his abandonment and abusive childhood, rather than the quest for justice that MCU Killmonger is on.
Wakanda has the tools to liberate them all.
And what tools are those?
Vibranium. Your weapons.
Our weapons will not be used to wage war on the world. It is not our way.
This is a good change, we must say, as Killmonger's revenge was really given a more noble purpose in the MCU. Number 3. The Mandarin, Iron Man 3.
That's when he happened.
This one really angered the comic book fans, as Mandarin had been a Marvel villain since 1964 when he made his first appearance in Tales of Suspense. He later became arch-enemy to Iron Man. Coming from a difficult past, he became a weapons-running crime lord and eventually gained superpowers thanks to 10 alien rings found in a crashed UFO. That is the short version, of course. In the MCU's Iron Man 3, Mandarin makes his appearance, portrayed by British actor Ben Kingsley.
You know who I am. You don't know where I am. And you'll never see me coming.
However, when he revealed himself having addiction issues as former actor Trevor Slattery, fans were really not having it.
Just a role? The Mandarin? See, it's not real.
Number 2. Red Skull in Space, Avengers Endgame. Red Skull has a long history in Marvel Comics, beginning in 1941 when Marvel was known as Timely Comics. He was the nemesis to Captain America from the start. An accomplished war criminal for Hitler throughout World War II, a seeker of world domination, and even died and came back to life in the body of a Captain America clone. What is the one thing comic book Red Skull never did? Become the guardian of the Soul Stone on the planet Vormir.
I too sought the stones. I even held one in my hand. But it cast me out, banished me here, guiding others to a treasure I cannot possess.
That entire story arc was developed exclusively for the MCU, and fans were not too impressed. If you want to get nerdy about it, you can. Red Skull ending up on Vormir just doesn't make much sense, and it is never properly explained.
We all think that at first. We are all wrong.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications.
Number 1. Thanos' motivation. Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame. This one is a welcome change.
This day extracts a heavy toll.
In the comics, Thanos' reason for acquiring the Infinity Stones and wiping out half the universe is to impress a lady. Sweet, right? He murders countlessly to win the affection of Lady Death, yet she isn't impressed and demands more. Therefore, he resolves to gather all the stones and annihilate half of all life in the universe to win the heart of a woman he's been pining for since adolescence. MCU Thanos has arguably better intentions.
With all 6 stones, I could simply snap my fingers. They would all cease to exist. I call that mercy.
Having seen his own planet of Titan destroyed by overpopulation, he sets out to bring balance to the universe by ridding it of half its population. The end result is the same, yet for a far better reason than to impress a girl.
But now is no time to mourn. Now is no time at all.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.